So my name is Janetta Elvie, and I was in bed just watching TV when I was on Twitter, and I saw that there was a body in the middle of the street, and it was tweeted by someone who lived here. In the background, I could tell that the place looked familiar, but I was like, oh, well, you know, it might be somewhere totally different that has similar structures or whatever. And then I did some more research all up and down my timeline, and I saw that not only was it here, it was in Ferguson, where I used to live with my mom maybe like 10 or 12 years ago. So my best friend and I, after gathering more information, we went down to Ferguson, down to Canfield, to the actual street where Mike Brown was shot and killed. We could still see the blood on the streets, even though they said that they had washed it away with soap earlier that day. It was still there, still dark, and you could tell that he had been in that position for a long time because of how dark the blood was in the street. That was an instant call to action for me. I've been looking and wondering how could I use this quote-unquote platform I have by having followers who have lots of followers, and now I have lots of followers on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook and on Tumblr. So basically it was just me and my cell phone, and I went out into the streets just to record what was happening. Something in me told me that the media would not be portraying this story correctly, mainly because it's a black community, and when black communities are involved or black boys are killed dead in the street, it's usually some type of slander or a smear campaign against the victim and not against the person who actually committed the crime. So that's what inspired me to get out into the streets, on top of the fact that one day Mike Brown could be my son. I don't have children, but that could be my child one day, and I definitely don't want anyone to kill or hurt or harm my children, and definitely not leave them out in the street for 4 hours. They pick up animals faster than what they picked up, than when they picked up Mike Brown off of Canfield, and that's disturbing. It shows that there is no care for black life, especially a young black man's life. So ever since then, we got into the community, me and my friends and I, and started doing basically what you could call community service. We were handing out water, we were handing out food, we were handing out towels, anything if people needed it. We were trying to gather and assess the needs of the community and buy it through donations made by Twitter directly to a Western Union or MoneyGram. We were helping and aiding protesters during the day while protesting, and then at nighttime when the armor trucks would come and things like that, we would be out there too. And then we had a reporter from the Washington Post with us, and while we were standing on the street of Nesbitt and West Florissant, the armor trucks were advancing up the street and shooting tear gas into the actual neighborhood. Not just up and down West Florissant, but shooting directly into the neighborhood, shooting directly at people, shooting the tear gas canisters at bodies. And these people had their children outside. It was old, young, everyone, the community was outside, period. And they were shooting rubber bullets directly at people, the beanbags directly at people. We saw a man get hit in the chest with the tear gas canister while trying to run. You know, like, it was just crazy. We all experienced some type of injury. I got shot in the left shoulder with a rubber bullet that Monday night, and it was very fast and quick, and I wasn't sure what in the world had happened to me. I had to look around and see everyone else was like holding on to themselves or checking themselves, and I'm like, what happened? And they're like, we just got shot with rubber bullets. I've never gotten shot with anything, so I didn't know what was happening to me. After that, they deployed the tear gas, so it was like one thing after another, after another, after another, right on top of the other, with no time to like think or act, you know, on how to protect yourself other than run. And the people, the SWAT team was yelling, return to your homes, And the people in the community were telling them to go home. You don't live here. You know, you go home. You're in our neighborhood. And they didn't allow people to mourn the death of Mike Brown. That's been a whole problem since the start of this. They haven't allowed the people to mourn the loss of someone in their community without invading their space and bringing force and militarized police forces into a community when simply everyone just wanted answers and they wanted direct action. So that was the very beginning. Since then, we've been out there every night with protesters. I've only taken 2 nights off in the past 17 days or so. And we've just been out there trying to be involved in the community and also using our Instagram, using our Facebook, using our Twitters to get the voice out. I want people to know that St. Louis is not what the media is making it out to be. We are a city, we're a resilient people who live in a racist city. So St. Louis is a part of Missouri, obviously, and Missouri was the last state to free the slaves. And so racism is something that is still very prominent in St. Louis. It's almost like a dirty little secret that people don't want to acknowledge, but that is one of the main forces behind all of the police brutality that goes on here in St. Louis.
At this point, it's just kind of reached its apex. I think this whole year has been a really disheartening and kind of discontent experience for me, from the Trayvon Martin decision to some Fruitvale Station to the Eric Garner video. So literally, Eric Garner was killed by the police not too long ago. And I just remember that night, I watched the video like 5 times, and it's weird that I watched it 5 times, but each time it sensitized me more. And literally the next day, I think my whole mind frame changed, and it was like, wow, this is like, I have to commit to this as a lifestyle. But it was still kind of inside of me. And then so I was in the car just changing stations. I heard about Mike Brown being killed that Saturday, and that's when I was like, all right, this is the moment. Like, so literally that Sunday morning, I went to a rally at the police department, facilitator hosted by the clergy, and I was really just observing and trying to figure out who were the people who were taking action. So then I went to the NAACP meeting on Monday where Monty was there, quite a few people on my team were there. I saw some other members of the future YCC STL there. And I realized I'm never going to hear any next steps in this meeting. So I was actually standing next to the head of the St. Louis American, which is a black newspaper here, and I like whispering in his ear. I was like, is there any way that you could help me get young people together to rally around taking action? And so Tuesday morning, I just went to we had our meeting. It wasn't like we were just going to have these listed demands. We made sure that we were on the grounds every day. We understood what was going on, and that we could relate to the people who were really dealing with those struggles on a day-to-day basis. So I don't remember what day it was, but it was Monty.
Wednesday.
Monty, Brittany, and me. She's another member of the Young Citizens Council. We were literally standing there peacefully protesting, and out of nowhere, it was just pure chaos. They dispersed the tear gas. They started shooting, and it was nostalgic. I was like, is this really 2014, and is this St. Louis City? So that was one night, and it just, there's been highs and lows. So some nights it's been like perfect. It's like one night I think Justin and Brittany and I were out, and it was like so, it was full of energy and passion. It was young people going up and down the street chanting, hands up, don't shoot. And the next day it went back to pure chaos. And I realized, like, I wasn't clear the whole time when I saw the police there, like, who are they protecting? Because it wasn't us as a peaceful protesters. So I think just every night kind of illuminated that this is a systemic issue. It's bigger than Mike Brown, and Mike Brown was the impetus, but that this is something that needs to be addressed in Ferguson, across St. Louis, and across the country. So that's what we're doing now, trying to make sure that Mike Brown's death was not in vain, and that this is really just the springboard for a movement around conversations around race, a movement towards legislation that represents everyone's voices and lives, and a movement towards empowering young people to step up as the future leaders and to not be afraid to live their life and yeah, that's it.
I think it was a tragedy, and I believe Mike Brown was used as a, I don't know if I'm going to use the right word, like a sacrifice. Like he's the person that people are using as that Trayvon Martin and those other individuals that were killed by the police. And it's bigger. It's bigger than Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin. These are just people that have unfortunately died for this cause. I think we as a people need to learn to love each other and embrace each other and help build instead of tearing down each other. I think that we need to go out and vote, because if we don't vote, we don't have a voice, and if we don't have a voice, things like this are going to continue to happen. I also, when it first happened, when it initially happened and people were out protesting, I watched it on the news. I laid in the bed for 3 days, literally depressed. I could not get out of the bed because it was so sad, and to see the police behave in such a manner and the media only expose the negative part of it. I support the cause, but I don't support the looting. But one thing that I had to come to grips to realize is that the looting was a reaction. It wasn't an intent, but it was them rebelling against the government. So they figure, hey, if you don't listen to us and if you don't let us protest, let's tear up everything in the city, and that's stuff that the government cares about. So of course it got everyone's attention. It may not have been the best way, but I think with this whole situation, there's going to be a change. There has to be a change. We have to do something. We cannot allow people of different races to run a predominantly black community, because you don't know what it's like to be black. You don't know the struggle.
After the anger and I calmed down and had time to think about it, this has been going on a long time, not only in St. Louis, but in other states too. And I feel like this, just like with Trayvon, the police got an administrative leave with pay to kill a black man. And I feel the same thing is happening with Mike Brown. He's on administrative leave of pay, you know, and still locked him up. If he was a black man, he'd be locked up by now, if not already prosecuted. So yeah, I got a problem with it. I'm glad it's now a peaceful demonstration, you know, is going in a positive way now. A lot of people are still very angry, but they have calmed down some. I just hope justice be done for all the Michael Brown in St. Louis and out. I am so proud to see the outcome of the black people, the ones that are positive, and I'm glad to be a part of this because it is history. And I just hope that it's not going to stop. I know this much, but I just hope that people have a change of heart and be more understanding and look for God, because that's the only thing that's going to help.